I work for a mid-sized property management company based in a 10-story office building just outside the city. It's one of those gray, bland high-rises in a quiet business district where everything shuts down at 6 p.m. sharp. We lease commercial real estate, handle tenant complaints, schedule inspections, nothing glamorous. My title is Administrative Coordinator, which is just a fancy way of saying I do a little bit of everything. Emails, invoices, phone calls, calendar stuff. My boss, Erin, had been out on medical leave for surgery, so I had been staying late to catch up on her work. The first couple nights, it was kind of peaceful. No phones ringing, no one stopping by my desk, just the hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional HVAC kick-in. The building gets dead quiet after hours, like really quiet. Most people don't realize how much ambient noise is around during the day until it's gone. The building also has a 12th floor, but not officially. Elevator buttons skip from 11 to PH, but the blueprints show a small mechanical access space labeled 12. It's not rented, and from what I understood, it's just used for electrical stuff. Anyway, one Tuesday night, around 8:45 p.m., I was wrapping up emails when I heard the faint ding of the elevator arriving, which didn't make sense. I hadn't called it. At first, I figured maybe the cleaning crew had come early, but when I peeked down the hallway, no one was there. The elevator doors were wide open, just sitting there like it was waiting. I stepped inside and hit the ground floor button. Nothing happened. I hit it again. Still nothing. I pressed door close, and the doors finally shut, but instead of going down, the elevator jerked upward. Hard. I stumbled a bit and looked at the panel. All the lights were off, every button. Then, after a second, a number flicked on. 12, I stared at it. There was no 12. There was never a 12. When the doors opened, I hesitated. It was a hallway. Dimensoy's unfinished concrete. Not drywall, no carpet, no signage, no exit signs, no lights really. Just this weird flickering overhead bulb halfway down the hall. It smelled damp, like mildew and something else. I don't know what compelled me, but I took a step out. Just one. Then the elevator dinged again behind me. The doors slammed shut without warning. I lunged for the button, slammed it. Nothing happened. No buttons were lit anymore. Not even the emergency call. I turned around and stared down the hallway. There were 5 doors, 2 on either side, one at the very end, all metal. I called out, "Hello? Anyone here?" Nothing. I thought maybe it was some maintenance zone and I'd wandered somewhere I shouldn't have, but why would the elevator just take me here? I walked to the first door on the right and pushed it. Locked. Tried the second on the left. Also locked. The third door, farther down, was slightly ajar. I paused. There was something about the way it was open, like it had been left that way on purpose. I don't know what got into me, but I pushed it gently. Inside was a completely empty office. No furniture, no lights, just this humming, like a power transformer. I could see a few open cardboard boxes on the floor, but nothing in them. The walls were covered in what looked like old corkboards or soundproofing panels. I stood there for a second before something on the floor caught my eye. It was a shoe, a single black ballet flat, then another, and another, different sizes. All women's, all scuffed, old, like they'd been left there. And then I noticed the smell, copper, thick, wet air. That's when I turned and bolted. I sprinted back to the elevator and started pounding on the panel. Nothing. I hit the emergency button again and again until finally, miraculously, it blinked back on and the doors opened. When I got back to my floor, I was shaking. I didn't even grab my bag. I just grabbed my keys and left. I didn't tell anyone about it at first. What was I even supposed to say? Hey, I got stuck on a floor that doesn't exist and found a graveyard of old shoes. But it got weirder. The next day, the elevator was out of service. Scheduled maintenance, the sign said. When I asked building security if they'd been working on the elevator the night before, they told me no one had scheduled anything. Later that week, while filing a set of property inspection reports, I found something that made my blood run cold. There was an incident listed from almost 6 years ago. A woman named Teresa Monroe, a tenant rep from a now-defunct insurance company that used to lease the 9th floor, had gone missing. Last seen working late. Security footage had her exiting the elevator on the 11th floor, but she was never seen leaving the building. Police ruled her a missing person. The case was never solved. And in the notes from the building manager at the time, there was one strange line: conduct additional audit of 12th floor keycard access logs. Remove active access from all non-admin personnel. I didn't even know there was a keycard reader up there. I've never been back up to 12. I've stayed late plenty since then, but I always take the stairs, and I never stay past 8. That elevator still dings sometimes. Randomly, always after hours, always empty. To this day, no one at the company has ever acknowledged the 12th floor, and the building directory still skips from 11 to PH. But if you're ever working late in an old office building and the elevator offers you a ride you didn't ask for, don't get in. I work as an assistant office manager for a medical billing company. It's nothing fancy, just a small office suite inside a 3-story building in a quiet part of town. We're one of those companies you never hear about unless you're dealing with hospital invoices or insurance appeals. Our team is small, about 12 people total, but we rent out the whole 3rd floor. The floor is split into cubicles with 2 small private offices, a break room, and a server room in the back. It's clean, quiet, and frankly boring most of the time. Our boss, Joanna, is kind of a micromanager. She's one of those people who talks about grind culture and how late hours show commitment. It's not unusual for her to stay past 9 p.m., even when she has nothing urgent going on. About a year ago, she started asking me to stay late with her. At first, it was once a week, some data entry or finalizing reports, but then it became more frequent. Eventually, it was expected. Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, I'd be there until 10 or later, just her and me. I didn't complain, not at first. I needed the job. Still do, but that's when I started noticing the shadows. The first time it happened, I was filing away paper records after everyone else had left. It was maybe 9:40 p.m. I had headphones in, listening to a podcast, and I swear I felt something behind me, like the sensation you get when someone walks past you fast. That little gust of displaced air, that presence. I turned around instantly. Nothing. At least, not at first. But in the far cubicle row, right near the windows, I saw movement. Just a flicker, like someone stepping quickly out of view. I assumed it was Joanna. Maybe she'd gone to the break room and looped around. But when I called out, she answered from her office, behind me. "Nope, still here," she said. "Why?" I didn't know how to respond. I just told her I thought I saw something. She didn't say anything else, and I let it go. It happened again, 2 nights later, same time, same place. I was shutting down the printer when I saw something shift along the wall. Just a flash, like someone ducking down behind a cubicle. This time, I walked over. I didn't even think, I just moved straight to where I thought I saw it. I checked behind the desk. Under the desk, nothing. Of course. But there was something else, a weird smell, like burnt dust and old fabric, that thick, unpleasant odor that settles in abandoned buildings. I asked Joanna again if she had seen anything. She looked at me for a second and said, "It's just your eyes adjusting. That happens, peripheral tricks." But her tone was off. Too quick. Like she had rehearsed it. After that, I started keeping track. It wasn't just on the nights I stayed late, it was every night. No matter what time we wrapped up, 9 o'clock, 10:30, even close to midnight, I would always see it. A shadow, a flicker, movement just beyond where I could look directly. sometimes near the windows, sometimes behind the supply shelves. Once, I swear, I saw the silhouette of a man crouching in the far cubicle when I flipped the light back on. It vanished the second the brightness filled the room. I thought I was losing it. I even went to the eye doctor, perfectly fine vision. Then I started leaving my phone camera recording while I worked, just to see if I could catch anything. One night, after a long shift, I reviewed the footage from earlier. At around 9:53 p.m., just after Joanna had gone into her office to make a call, I saw it. A figure, just a black mass, no definition, no face. It crawled out from under one of the desks, then darted straight across the floor, disappearing into the dark server room. I dropped my phone. I actually yelled. Joanna came out of her office, annoyed. I told her what I saw. I even showed her the video. She didn't react the way I expected. No shock, no fear, just a weird pause. Then she said, "That's why we don't use that back area after 9 p.m. I thought you knew that." That was the first time she acknowledged it, like it was normal, like it was part of the office. After that night, I told her I wasn't comfortable staying late. I made up an excuse, something about night classes. She pushed back hard, told me I was letting irrational fear get in the way of opportunity. Even offered a raise if I kept doing late shifts. I said no. She didn't like that. A week later, she started CCing me on weird emails. Memos I'd never seen before about after-hours compliance and nightly observation logs. Internal stuff. Dated back months. One thread mentioned me by name. Employee appears responsive to stimuli. Limited confrontation. Passive subject. That sent a chill down my spine. I confronted her the next morning. I asked her what the hell she was sending me. She denied it. Said I must be confused. Said I was probably tired and misreading things. I checked the email later that night. The thread was gone. I started talking to a coworker, Mina, who used to do admin work before I got hired. She left abruptly a few months into her job, no explanation. I asked her if anything strange had happened while she worked there. She hesitated. Then she said, "Just don't stay late. Ever. There's something in that building." And Joanna, she knows more than she says. That was the last I heard from her. Last week, Joanna sent out a company-wide memo. Effective immediately, all administrative support staff will be required to remain until 10 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays for infrastructure testing. Overtime will be compensated. No one responded. The mood in the office turned cold. That night, when everyone had left, I stayed behind. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed the check. Around 10:05 p.m., the lights flickered. Joanna stepped out of her office and said, "Just give it a few seconds." Then she smiled, not warmly, not reassuringly, just knowingly. The lights dimmed down to this horrible buzzing hum. I turned around, and for the first time, I didn't just see the shadows. I heard them, scuttling, wet movement, from multiple directions. Joanna didn't move. She just whispered, "Don't acknowledge them. Don't speak. Just finish your task." I don't know how I made it through that night. I didn't even remember driving home. I just remember shaking in the shower for an hour, trying to breathe. I quit the next morning, didn't give notice, didn't explain. I got a new job, remote, safe, far away. But sometimes, late at night, when I look at my inbox, there's a message, always in bold, always unread, from a generic address I don't recognize. It just says, "We still see you." I don't open them, I don't reply, but I haven't blocked the sender either. Because deep down, I think that would make it worse. They don't like being ignored. I used to work as an overnight archival technician for the City Historical Society. It was honestly a dream job when I got it. Quiet, low pressure, mostly just scanning and digitizing old building permits, photos, blueprints. Boring, sure, but I liked that. I like boring. The building they assigned me to was a place called Braylock Hall. It's this old red brick government building from the 1800s that had been converted into a municipal record center. The city was gearing up for a major renovation project, so they hired temps like me to prep everything for digital transfer. The day staff worked until about 6 p.m. My shift started at 10 and ran until 6 a.m. Alone. That was kind of the point. They didn't want distractions. I had full access to the scanning room, the filing vaults, the microfilm chamber, even the sub-basement, which I never had any reason to go into. The first couple weeks were fine, peaceful even. I'd get there, clock in, heat up some tea, pop in my earbuds, and zone out to true crime podcasts while scanning yellowed records into a giant flatbed scanner. The building was cold. Stone floors, drafty windows, creaky vents. But that's just how those old buildings are. Or at least, that's what I told myself. But the thing is, no matter how much noise my headphones blocked out, I always felt like someone else was in there with me. At first, it was just that subtle awareness, that weird sense that if you turned around fast enough, you'd catch someone peeking at you from behind a bookshelf. But of course, there was never anyone there. The first truly weird thing happened just after 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. I had just finished scanning a folder of surveyor maps when I noticed the lights flicker. Not once, not twice, but this slow, rhythmic pulse. On, office, I took out my earbuds and looked around. There was no sound, nothing humming, nothing failing. Just that overwhelming silence. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Coming from the hallway. I froze. I figured maybe someone else was in the building, maybe security, but they were slow, deliberate, the kind of steps people make when they think no one else is around. I stepped out into the corridor. The lights were still dim, like the power hadn't fully recovered from whatever caused the flicker. I called out. "Hello, is someone here?" No answer. But the steps kept going. I followed them to the old map room, an area I had no reason to go into. It hadn't been used in years. When I pushed open the door, I was hit with a wave of cold air, like someone had left a window open in December. But there were no windows, and no one inside. Just rows of old drawers and a single leather-bound ledger sitting on the center table. I don't know why, but I opened it. There was no writing. No maps, just a faint handprint on the page, as if someone had pressed their palm down in dust or soot and left it there. After that night, it started getting worse. Every shift it was something new, voices echoing faintly from the upper floors. Soft whispers I couldn't quite make out, the clack of keys hitting the tile floor when I hadn't touched mine. One night, all the filing cabinets in Vault B were open. Fully extended, dozens of them, papers spilled across the floor. I didn't open them. I didn't go in that room at all that night. I asked my supervisor if anyone else had access to the building during my shift. She said no. The night security guard had been reassigned 2 months prior. "You're the only one in that building after 10 p.m., she told me. The next shift, I started bringing sage spray and salt packets. I know how that sounds, but I was desperate. I didn't know what I was dealing with. That night, I set a salt line across the threshold of the scanner room and sprayed my chair with the sage mist like a lunatic. Around 3 a.m., the scanner jammed. When I leaned down to open the paper tray, I felt a cold breath on the back of my neck, like someone was right there. I jumped back so hard I knocked my chair over. Nothing was behind me, but the door to the hall had shut. I hadn't touched it. The worst night of all came during a snowstorm. Power was already unstable when I arrived. I was told to leave early if I felt uncomfortable. I wish I had. By 1 a.m., the internet went down. By 1:45, the entire lighting system flickered again, and this time didn't come back. The only working light was the tiny desk lamp by the microfilm reader. I tried to pack up early, but something was wrong. The hallway door wouldn't open. It wasn't locked. The knob turned freely, but the door would not budge, like it was sealed shut. I tried the side exit, same thing. I even tried the fire escape. The outer latch had been deadbolted from the outside. That's when I heard it again. The footsteps. Only this time, they were coming from every direction. Slow, echoing, deliberate, like dozens of people were walking in slow circles around the building. I backed into the scanning room and turned off the lamp. I crouched in the corner behind a stack of boxes and held my breath. The footsteps grew louder, then stopped, and I heard paper turning, pages being flipped, like someone was standing at the scanner, reading. Then I heard a whisper. So close I felt it in my bones. "Why? Did you come back?" At exactly 4:18 a.m., the emergency backup lights kicked in and the doors opened. I ran. I didn't even clock out. I quit the next day. I didn't give a reason. I didn't ask for references. But I looked into the history of the building, just enough to confirm something that had been gnawing at me. Back in 1919, Braylock Hall had served as a temporary housing site for tuberculosis patients during a sanitation crisis. The entire third floor, what's now the records department, had been used as a quarantine ward. Most of the patients died there, unclaimed, unrecorded, forgotten. They were buried in an unmarked trench behind the property, now covered by the municipal parking garage. I haven't worked a night shift since. But sometimes when I can't sleep, I think about those footsteps, the handprint, the cold breath, that final whisper. And I wonder, what happens to the memories of people the city doesn't want to remember? Because some records, they refuse to stay buried.